What's up, folks? It's Dr. Remy LeBone. I'm coming at you once again from the X-Lair to give you just a brief reaction to this crazy news that just popped out of nowhere, basically stating that Joss Whedon is going to be finishing the Justice League film, which is crazy. It's insane, but the circumstances under which it's happening are problematic. They're tragic, really. It's sad. So Zack Snyder, who directed Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, is currently working on the Justice League, apparently, and the producer Deborah Snyder, his wife, have been dealing with a tragedy. Apparently one of their daughters committed suicide last year, which is, I mean, I can't even process what that must be like to lose a child in that way, in that very specific way. And I guess because of it, like, initially, like, he thought he would throw himself into the work, but now he's like decided to take a step back and maybe let the process of grieving kind of play out in the smoothest way possible. My condolences go out to Zack Snyder and Deborah Snyder. This is something that no person should ever have to go through, losing a child, especially to suicide. It says a lot about our society, though, and like the impact that the current state of society can have on anybody. It doesn't matter what your background is, doesn't matter how privileged you might be in this world. Like, it's not easy living life in this world where, like, you know, just social media becomes like this amplifier for all the negativity if you let it. I mean, as a kid, you're already kind of focusing a lot on negativity as you're growing up and trying to kind of come to terms with the imperfections of the world. And to have that amplified in such a way in social media, I can see why it would be more difficult for anybody, you know, growing up in this time period. I was just thinking about that the other day. I was like, I'm so glad, like, I dodged the bullet of having to grow up in a world where social media is as pervasive as it is. I got to finish that very sensitive time, my teenage years, and then it all started and we transitioned, and it was a smooth transition for me. But yeah, it's rough on everyone, especially the young kids. So we have to be. I think as a community, as a worldwide community, we need to be conscious of this. We need to always be trying to offer our support to the young people, and not just focus on like the negative. Oh, like they text while they're driving and like they're never paying attention. They're always in the phone. It's not just that. Like, they're also dealing with all this negativity being thrown at them on a consistent basis, and it's not something that any of us had to deal with. You know, the generation prior to them. So. So, you know, my heart goes out to the Snyders and all the kids that maybe are on the verge of taking your life. You should, if there's anybody out there that happens to watch this video, probably not, but if you're feeling unhappy, like, you've got to focus on the positive. There's also help. Talk to people. That you got to get it out. You got to process it. Anyway, this video is not about dealing with suicide, but it is based on the fact that there was this horrible tragedy in Zack Snyder's life. And once again, my condolences go out to Zack Snyder and Deborah Snyder. Anyway, the news is that Joss Whedon is taking over. Apparently, he's just going to put like finishing touches in the film. But like, we saw that with like Thor: The Dark World, like he brought in some like pretty cool like Joss Whedon flavor just by coming in and like kind of rewriting a couple of scenes, throwing in a couple of extra things. Maybe he'll do that here, and he'll, you know, maybe kind of start to kind of transition the DCEU into a more positive, optimistic, and ultimately fun vibe, tone for the series, so that you know, audiences will like the films more, and they'll be more successful, and we'll get a lot more DCEU films because everybody wants them. Everybody wants these films to succeed. It's just people have been upset at the way that they've recently been coming out, and you know, even though there's been positive word of mouth on Wonder Woman thus far, like, I'm still skeptical of it, and I'm even wondering if I'm gonna go opening night, which is like what I do when comic book films come out, like big tentpole films. So, and like, you hear all this stuff about like the changing of writers and directors on Batman and Flash and all this stuff, and it's like, you know, it definitely, the ship needs to be set right. And Joss Whedon is definitely the guy to do it. So hopefully WB realizes what they have now, having Joss Whedon willing to step in and like kind of help kind of shepherd this cinematic universe forward. And hopefully only good things will come from this point forward. Hopefully. He can be the Kevin Feige of the DCEU if they let him. Jeff Johns is there, and I'm sure all that's working out. But like, Joss Whedon, obviously, he did the Avengers. That's all I need to say. I don't need to say anything else. And Avengers 2, which I love Avengers 2. I know some people have problems with that movie. I don't. I'm happy. I was happy with it. Anyway, so that's my reaction to this crazy news that just popped out. I'm looking forward to the result. It's sad beyond words that it is due to these unfortunate circumstances, and we all need to acknowledge that, and everybody needs to be very nice to Zack Snyder from now on, okay? Because he's been through some shit, and he's going through some shit now with his wife, and he deserves our empathy. He deserves positivity. People need to be nice to Zack Snyder, okay? He did a good job with Man of Steel, okay? Batman v Superman was not necessarily his fault, okay? Let's leave the guy alone. Anyway, thanks for checking out my channel. Thanks for checking out my content. If you haven't already subscribed, you can do so right there. As always, don't forget to put an X in the box, because ain't nobody checking me. See you later.